The Consulting Success podcast is powered by the Clarity Coaching Program. If you'd like to work directly with the Consulting Success team and receive personal coaching and support to optimize and grow your consulting business, marketing, and revenue, visit consultingsuccess.com to find out more and apply.
Welcome to the Consulting Success Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Zapersky. In this podcast, we'll dive deep into the world of elite consultants, where you'll learn the strategies, tactics, and mindset to grow a highly profitable and successful consulting business. Hey everyone, it's Michael Zapersky here, and today I'm with Jennefer Witter. Jennefer, welcome.
Thank you so much, Michael. It's a pleasure to be here.
So you are the founder and CEO of the Borland Group. You've been running this company now for 17 plus years, I believe, and you have 30 or so years of experience in PR. You've worked with clients like Luckett and Farley, the U.S. Naval Institute, Women's Initiative Foundation, and then many more, many very large brands, well-known companies as part of your kind of corporate career before you went out on your own. You've also published books. You're a speaker. You were named as one of the top Black CEOs and entrepreneurs in the US. So I want to find out more about that. You've accomplished so much. But before we kind of get to all of that, you talk about being able to help your clients capture their unfair share of attention. What does that mean?
Well, that's a phrase that I created because what the Borland Group does, we work primarily with minority-owned and women-led companies as well as nonprofits. And the nonprofits that I work with are not the bigger ones. They're more grassroots at the community level. So with the audience that I work with, a lot of the work that they do is so significant and helps their community so much. And yet they don't get the attention that they deserve. And so what my company does is to bring them and put them on the radar using a variety of PR tactics, whether it is media relations, social media, writing such as press releases and op-ed, so that their good works are able to be highlighted to their specific audiences that will enable them to grow their footprint, get more revenue so that they can help more people. And especially now with a focus being on minorities and women, this is the time I feel to really go out there and take what is out there. I'm not saying taking from other people. That's not what we're about. What I am saying is to get your unfair share. You weren't getting as much as before. So let's go out there and go to the very top and get as much as we want, as you want, so that we can work as partners in order for you to help more people, employ more people, get more business.
Right. So I want to dig into that and extract as much as I can from you here today for the benefit of all of our listeners and viewers. But before we do that, let's kind of go back a little bit in time. You were a VP at Ketchum, I believe.
Yeah.
Right. Quite a large organization that serves many brands and well-known companies out there. Why did you leave? And I don't mean like specifically why did you leave that company, but tell me a little bit more about like why you decided to leave that well-established kind of executive role to go out on your own and start your own consulting business.
Well, it didn't come about like, oh, I want to be an entrepreneur. That was never in my business plans. And when I was at Ketchum is a top 5 global communications company. And the work that I did was very fulfilling. I had a worldwide staff of over 30. I did corporate technology, which was a subdivision that I helped to create because I had a high-tech background. One year, I was able to bring in $1 million worth of business. And I'll never forget, I was sitting in my office and it was a sunny August day. And I said, it'll never get as good as this because business was literally flooding in. The next month was September 2001. And everything, the tech industry, the bubble burst. And I went from a worldwide staff of more than 30 to 2. And what a lot of people don't realize is public relations, while it has a perception of being very glamorous and very sexy, it is a very high stress job. There's a lot of pressure day in and day out. And when I lost that staff, and yes, we did lose clients and work contracted, there still was a lot of work to be done. The other thing is that around that time, I lost my mother, and that was very devastating to me, obviously. And what I decided to do was to take time off. And I quit my job and I took a year off and I really examined if I wanted to stay in public relations, period. And I decided I wanted to do that, but I wanted to do it on my own terms. So the decision to become an entrepreneur was very organic. And so I went about, and I'm the type of person that I proceed with risk, but it's a cautious risk. So I went to SCORE, I went to SBA. And while I was getting my company together, I sent out a couple of hundred emails, and it was to my network. And I said, I'm starting a company. I need a client. And one person responded, and it was somebody from Ketchum. And he said, my friend's brother's wife was looking for a publicist. And I met with her in February, and my company, it didn't have its legal setup where an S Corp, we didn't have our name settled. We had nothing like that. And I started talking with her, and she became my first client. And she was a real estate broker. She's still a real estate broker. And from that first step, that's how the Borland Group started. And we were in real estate PR for about 5 years. But, taking that first step of separating myself from Ketchum, because regardless of the status, it was still a secure job. But I was burned out because at that time, I'd been in PR, give or take 20 years. And then you had 9/11, then you had the severe reduction in work, the personal loss, and I just needed time to stop. And I've been moving forward ever since with the Borland Group.
Tell me more about, take me back to that time when you took a year off and you were kind of weighing and exploring, what the best path forward would be for you. How did you arrive? Was there anything that you learned that really helped you to make the decision in terms of what that path would be, to start your own business, to stay in PR? What was helpful for you, or what did you kind of find that just encouraged you to move in that direction?
Well, I will tell you this, and I'll be very transparent. The first 3 months after I left Ketchum, my entire body broke down. I was sick for 3 months. And a friend of mine said to me, if you were wondering if this was the right move or not, there was your answer. Because I always, for whatever reason, always got the most difficult clients to work with. And it takes a toll on your body. So I spent the first few months just recuperating. And because of what happened with my mother, I wanted to investigate a career in geriatric management. And I went to a couple of seminars and I spoke to some people, and I realized it wasn't a good fit. And again, it was a year. So I had time to think and reflect and remove myself. And what I wanted to do was to work in an environment where I would respect, like, and admire my clients. Because PR is not a 9 to 5. And that's what most consulting work is. It's not a beginning at 9 and a hard ending at 5. It's not Monday to Friday. It's weekends, it's nights. You have to be on call for your client. So I wanted to work with clients that I could not have a personal relationship with, but have a professional, strong professional and personal interest in their success. And with the clients that I had in the past, again, it was a very rocky. I've had clients who disliked me, clients. I'll never forget, this was one client, it was not at Ketchum. My boss and I were walking into the office building where she was working, this particular client who shall remain unnamed. And she looked down at me and my boss, who was a VP, and she goes, "Oh, look what the garbage brought in." Wow. And it was just like, I just couldn't do that anymore. And so with my company, and again, we're nearly 18 years old, I have always made sure that, yes, I can do the work. Yes, you can pay for my work, but is there a strong chemistry there? And I have turned down work where I know that it's not going to work out in terms of chemistry. And there have been times that I have fired clients because it's just not worth it to be working so hard and to have clients who gaslight you, who question you. And I'm not saying I'm a prima donna, but we're being hired for our expertise. And if we can't share this expertise that we have 20, 25, 30 years in, and you keep changing your objectives, we're being set up for failure. And I can fail on my own. I don't need somebody else to do that for me. So with the unpacking of it, so to speak, during that year, that is what I decided to do, to create my own business, to be able to select my own clients, and to have the freedom of saying, no, this is not working out. I wish you well.
What are some of those questions, or what do you look for when you're kind of assessing the chemistry? Like, is it just a matter of having an initial conversation with someone you just kind of feel in your gut, like, yeah, this is a good person. I think this will work out. Or are there some specific questions or a process that you use to identify, who you want to work with, who you should avoid?
It's a mixture. I always have a couple of conversations before signing with the client to feel them out, and they need to feel me out, to be truthful as well. I want to know what their measurement of success is. Do they have realistic expectations? What is their understanding of public relations? Because it can be very nebulous. And to be clear about deliverables. So many clients back in the day when Oprah Winfrey was on, everybody used to say, I want to be on Oprah Winfrey. Like she was sitting around in Chicago waiting for us to stroll in with our clients. Or I want to be on the cover of the Wall Street Journal. Like they were waiting for, clients to come in and say, hey, write about me. And you have to explain to the clients that this is the process. PR takes time. You have to partner with me. We have to work together because I alone doing the work without your participation is going to be like a three-legged stool. It's not going to be successful. So in order for the two of us to work together, you have to hear what I am saying, and I have to be upfront and transparent as to what it really is like to work with a company. Because let's face it, public relations sometimes doesn't have the best reputation. And a lot of my clients have worked with other firms that did not deliver. And so what the Borland Group does is that we write customized programs for our clients. And in it, we build as much measurement as possible. So when we go in at the start, everything is on paper. We understand where we're going, where we want to get to. And we also have flexibility that if it doesn't work out, then we can pivot. And I think that all consultants should build that elasticity in their relationships with the clients, because who would have thought about it, Michael, a year ago that we would be in this situation, and how could we pivot in order to remain a successful partner with our clients when both of us, the client and ourselves, are going through payment protection plan, the economic disaster loan, trying to get your staff together. So I think that one of the things that we've learned from this past year, especially, is that we have to be able to pivot for ourselves and for our clients. The objective may stay the same, but the road to it probably most likely is different.
Yeah, certainly a challenging time with COVID and everything going on in the world right now. So you mentioned when you kind of struck out on your own, you sent an email to people in your network. Was that like a very easy thing for you to do? Did you have any hesitations around that? Just talk me through kind of what your mindset of sending out that email to people.
Oh, I have no problem asking. You don't ask, you don't get. And that is exactly what I have always said. And if you can just bear with me, because I want to share something, because I'm a passionate advocate for women. And I speak in broadcast statements. Women don't ask. We do not ask. It's almost like you're asking, oh my gosh, it's like you have a witch in your closet. Don't open the door, she'll come out. And like with many businesses during COVID, I lost business. And I too went back and forth. And I said, should I do this? And I spoke with my staff, and they said, go ahead. What do you have to lose? And what it was is that I posted on my LinkedIn page. And the first line was, I've always said, if you don't ask, you don't get. And I carefully crafted content that said, like other businesses, I lost businesses. And in my client portfolio, I have room for one or two more clients. I was very specific about what I wanted, because I didn't want somebody coming in and saying, we'll hire you for $100 a month, which has happened. I was clear about my audience. I created a graphic using Canva, and I put it out there. And I got up to 5,000 views. About 25 people reshared it without me asking. I got a client out of it, and I got several business referrals out of it. So going back to 2003, I had no problem going out there and asking for assistance. Because again,
hold that though for a minute, Jennefer, like the mindset there, because I think, I hear what you're saying, like a lot of women don't ask. I see that also with men too. I think there's a lot of people who don't ask because they're waiting for things to be just right. It's like they want their website to be perfect. They want their logo to be in a pretty color. They want something to happen before they go out and ask, or they feel like if they're asking, doesn't that kind of position them as being too pushy or too salesy or too promotional? So just talk me through, like in your mind, what would you tell someone who is working on building their business? And and I know that sometimes it's just as simple as kind of casting that net out, your network, your ecosystem, and letting people know that, hey, this is what I'm looking to do. Do you know anyone? Do you yourself need help? Like, what's your thought process around that? Or what kind of advice or counsel would you offer people? While we work with a lot of seasoned and experienced consultants here at Consulting Success, I'm often contacted by new early stage consultants. Invariably, the question I'm asked is, what are the steps I should take to become a successful consultant and grow my consulting business to my first 6 figures per year? Well, I'm excited to announce that we've opened the doors for our Momentum program. This is our most popular program for early stage consultants, and it has helped almost 1,000 consultants to start, run, and grow successful consulting businesses. It gives you the step-by-step plan to help you with your messaging, your fees, and pricing strategies, how to win more proposals, how to go to market more effectively, developing a marketing system to generate leads consistently, and so much more. And right now, until September the 19th, you can sign up for Momentum and get 50% off the regular price by going to consultingsuccess.com/audio. That's consultingsuccess.com/audio, AUDIO. Only 100 spots are available to join Momentum and get 50% off. This deal is only available until September the 19th or until all 100 spots are gone. We won't be opening up new spots in this program for several months, so don't wait. Go to consultingsuccess.com/audio. That's consultingsuccess.com/audio, AUDIO.
Do it. There is no such thing as the perfect time. And if you're waiting for the perfect time, it will never come. Remember what I said at the beginning when I was looking for a client? I didn't have a website. My company wasn't legally formed. I didn't have a name. When I met with the first client, I was still carrying around Ketchum's briefcase with Ketchum's name on it. So don't wait until it's 110%. Don't wait until you have a logo design, because what you're selling is not the company. What you're selling is your expertise and how you're going to help that person in whatever need they are looking for. I work with independent contractors very quickly, and that's always our business model. And I bring it up to the client once in the beginning. And I say, I work with independent contractors. They stay with their life of account. It will not be shifted over. I'm done. They don't bring it up. Clients don't care how the sausage is made. They just want the sausage made. So what I say to people is get out of your way. I'm not saying that today's November 23rd or whatever, 24th, you're going to say, I want to start a business. You have to do the back work. You have to know how to sell yourself. You have to know what your audience is. You have to know what your services are that's going to make you stand out. You have to be there, that you have to know how much you're going to sell your services for. You have to know what the profit is. You have to have an accountant. That's one thing I'm firm about. But you do not have to wait for everything to be lined up, because especially nowadays, you don't have that opportunity, because you know what? Somebody else is going to come in and take your unfair share of attention, and it'll be theirs, and you're going to be behind that person.
Hey, it's Michael here, and we'll be right back to the podcast. But first, are you ready to grow, scale, and take your consulting business and marketing to the next level? If so, our Clarity Coaching Program may be a great fit for you. You'll work with our experienced team to set up a strategic plan for your business and coach you step by step in areas like how to consistently attract more leads, develop a magnetic message that resonates with your ideal clients, strategically package and position your services, earn higher fees, win more proposals, and scale your business. To find out more about Clarity Coaching and apply, go to consultingsuccess.com and click on coaching.
Let's talk about your experience there a bit more. So you put out this letter, landed you your first client, right? Real estate agent or kind of real estate market. Walk us through, like, what were the steps that you took to build up the business from that point? And say landing your next, 3 or 4 or 5 clients. What were you just sending out more emails? Were you asking for more referrals? Were you using publicity and PR yourself in your business? Something else? Like, walk us through what you did to kind of get your first real stable of core clients.
This is what I did with that first client. She didn't want to pay the full amount. So I said, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to charge you half the amount, and I'm going to invest the other half, meaning I would do the work and she wouldn't pay me. At the end of 6 months, she would then go up to the full fee. I knew that when people saw what I was able to do on her behalf, it would attract other clients. And that's exactly what happened. So I used that client as a leverage to get into the real estate industry. I went with her to events. I never ignored her, but I always networked. I had my business cards. And when I saw opportunities, I took them. So she would speak at this real estate school, and I got to know the owner of it. She saw the press that I was doing, and then she hired me. For real estate companies they began to see with this client, because I was getting her wonderful media. She was on the cover of the New York Times. She was on television. She was in the Wall Street Journal. And no other real estate expert was getting that. And so my company began to get a buzz, and I exploited that buzz. So what I say to other consultants is, in order to get what you want, sometimes you have to invest.
What did that look like though, Jennefer, in terms of were you creating case studies of the work that you were doing? Were you kind of documenting, saving, here's the cover of the New York Times or whatever it might be, and then sending that to people? Just kind of walk us through a little more tangibly. How did you take that success that you were having with your client and then extrapolate or connect that to the next client or a lead and a conversation with somebody new?
Back then it was different, because we're talking about the early aughts, and the media landscape has changed since then. But what I did, we didn't do case studies because I only had one client. And so it was truly, people seeing what I was doing for this particular client. And then what my client, they would ask her, who's doing your press? How are you getting in? And she would say, oh, it's Jennefer. And remember what I said, I didn't stay home. I didn't stay in the office. I was out there going out and meeting other people within the real estate community. And I was not shy about saying what I was doing. Now, back then, social media was not really used as much as it is now. There wasn't really LinkedIn, definitely not Twitter or Facebook. So a lot of it was word of mouth. And then the company that she was working for, I got to know the PR department there. And they would refer me business, like that agent needs something, or we hear that this is going on. So it really was back then, word of mouth, me going out there and selling myself. And again, the market was truly very different back then. I always say it was like manna from heaven, that I sat down at my desk and the business would come in. Nowadays, there are multiple channels that you can use, such as social media. And we can talk a little bit more about that later, about how entrepreneurs can squeeze the most out of social media. And you also have to really strategically market yourself. And what I say about my clients is that if we get the media, and our focus is on media for many of our clients, that's another thing that we can use to get more clients. The creativity, like one client, we created a podcast for him. Another client, we developed a conference series that was very successful for him. So when we're going out for new business, we can take these successes as examples of the work that we do. So what I did in the early aughts, some of it would still continue to work, which I still do. I still very much promote myself. But there are a lot of new ways that consultants can use, especially social media and virtual networking, that will enable them to get more clients and raise their visibility.
Yeah, so let's talk about that a little bit more. I mean, for the consultants that either they're a solo consultant or maybe they're a small firm owner, 5, 10 employees, whatever it might be. And the idea of PR, publicity, oftentimes I think for people, it sounds like, no, that's what the big guys do. And what would you say to somebody who is an expert in their area, Maybe they've already been creating some content, writing articles, they have a blog, but they want to get out there more. And should they even be thinking about landing something in Inc. magazine or Wall Street Journal? Like, is that the right thought process for them? Or do you advise them to get much more kind of granular, more specific, start off with more technical industry publications? Or how should somebody think about if they want to start generating more leads and really build their brand and authority and kind of just be more visible? What are some of the best practices or ideas that you think that they should be thinking about if they're already creating, let's say, some content?
This is what I would say. Take a step back. What is your objective? And then who is your audience? You don't go where you want to be. As I said, so many people want to be on the Wall Street Journal, but is that where your target audience is? Or are they reading Crane's New York Business? I have represented architects. They do not want to talk to other architects. They want to be in the business publications, business media, because that's where the decision makers for their work is. So I would say for consultants, take a step back. What is your audience? What is your area? What can you do to get in front of your target audience that is going to use your services? So there are a couple of things that you can do. One is speaking engagements. All right, speaking engagements are still happening. I'm doing it. Find out what the conferences are where your audience is. A lot of times you don't get paid. It is what it is. But if you don't get paid, you can barter. You can ask for, are they doing Facebook Lives? Then you can get a Facebook Live. Then you can merchandise it to your prospects. Are they, doing show dailies? They can do it electronically. Find out what you can barter in order to raise your visibility. Are they going to have a speakers only event? And if they do, that is fabulous because you can meet other experts in the industry and build your brand. With media, with industry publications, I would say right now that is your best bet. Because what is happening in the media very quickly is that it's shrinking dramatically. Even before COVID, it was happening.
You mean like the number of publications? Like there's
Yes.
fewer actual media publications or outlets?
Yes. There are community newspapers. Reporters are leaving the industry because there's just no work or they're getting fired. I know at one major publication, I knew a top editor there. She told me that they were told to work 4 days a week instead of 5. So that landscape is very hard to get into. I will be very truthful. It's very hard to get media because what's happening is that all these events are happening. We have the presidential, this is not political, the presidential election, the difficulty transition from one administration to the other. Then you have COVID. Now you have the holidays. It's been one thing after the other. So what's happening is that they're taking the remaining reporters who might be on your beat, let's say the consultant's beat, and they're now reassigning this reporter to politics. And so going to industry publications, they have their focus. It is a niche. But don't go, I'm in public relations. I'm not going to go to a PR industry trade. I am going to go, let's say, to a real estate trade or to a manufacturer's trade where my audience is.
And then Jennefer, what are you typically kind of pitching them? So let's say you want to get in front of more real estate agents because you know they're ideal clients for you. So you reach out and are you typically recommending that you say something along the lines of, here's kind of who I am, like what I've done, my credentials, so forth. And I have a few ideas that I'd love to speak on at your upcoming conference or do a webinar or write an article for your blog or your newsletter, something kind of like that? Or are there some other key ingredients that are really required to make that work so they actually accept you for the speaking or webinar or writing?
This is what you need to do. You need to do your research because they're getting a ton of this already. So what's going to get you from number 93 to 2 or 3? Take a look at these speaking events. Target like the 5 that you want to be at. Then you focus in on the speakers and the topics. And they usually have a request for speaker form. And I would say take your time and fill it out. Take past articles that you've done, get testimonials, show what would make your speaking engagement different. If you have a video of yourself speaking, a lot of times they want videos, include that. That's one way for speaking engagements. For media, there's something called an editorial calendar. An editorial calendar is a listing of stories that the publication is going to write about. A lot of times they'll have it on their website, and you can just scroll down and look for editorial calendar. If you don't see it, you can look for the advertising button and you'll see an editorial calendar. The other thing is that you can sign up for it and it's free. And it's called Help a Reporter Out, HARO. And you sign up for it and you'll get several hundred pushes a day. And when I say pushes, it is a compilation of what reporters, editors, producers are working on. And they're looking for interviews, and go through it and respond. I can tell you, some people it's like, oh, it's free. You get what you pay for. I got a client in Bloomberg Business Week because of Harrow. And so go through it. And if you see a small publication that, doesn't have a large name, don't be snobby. Again, if it's within your universe, if that's going to your target, it's better to have 2,000 people who are the decision makers than 80,000 where you have to wade through the chafe. The other thing is you do your research on the publication, because there was this one publication I never heard of. And I was like, forget that. And something said, just look it up. And I looked it up. They had an amazing circulation. They had an amazing background. And I pitched my client to them. So those are a couple of steps that I would tell you to take. And then the other thing is, and we did mention this, social media. Toot your horn. Now, I use for myself Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. On LinkedIn, I use it primarily for my speaking engagements and a little bit of business. Facebook, business, and a little speaking engagement. And Twitter is just for visibility. And from Facebook, I generated tens of thousands of dollars in revenue. And how I did that was I post about what I do on behalf of my clients. All right. I say, I got this media hit. I got this client in, There was a woman, I have not spoken to her since her second child was born, and he's now in school. He's like 5th or 6th grade. She has referred me so many times simply by what I'm posting on Facebook. And I've gotten business through her. So you choose the platform that, and I don't say you have to do all three, but choose the platform which is going to be the most lucrative for you, where most of your clients are, and focus in on that. For LinkedIn, I will put down what I am speaking on. I'm talking about, implicit bias. I'm talking about media relations. I'm talking about personal branding for women. And through LinkedIn, I got a speaking engagement at the Pentagon, which led to a speaking engagement at the Brookings Institution. And I leveraged that. So whatever you get, the Pentagon, I spoke there, a few years ago, same thing with Brookings, but I took those two authentic opportunities and I have leveraged them. So focus in on what you can do.
If you could take us to the example of, let's say you posted something on LinkedIn that resulted in you giving a talk at the Pentagon. Can you tell us a little bit more of what did you actually post? What was the content that generated that result? And then was that somebody from the Pentagon saw that post and reached out to you? Or is it somebody that you shared it? Just kind of walk us through so people can contextualize and just better kind of piece this together.
Absolutely. I was posting about what I was speaking about, the different topics, and a woman, and I'm kind of adjacent related to the military. I've spoken to several military organizations, and she and I met at a previous networking event, and she wanted me to speak to her organization, and it was a military organization. And then she began speaking about what I could speak, and then it grew into the Pentagon. Now, how did I promote that? I put it out there that I was speaking at the Pentagon long before it actually happened. When I got to the Pentagon, they have a picture and a fake podium and seal of the Pentagon and a fake podium. And I went to the podium and I had somebody take a picture of me there. And I used that. And then I spoke about the engagement afterwards because I was not allowed to take pictures during the presentation itself. So you ride that horse. The other thing I have to say, and I'll tell you, it was very truthful, all right, the response that I got. I was speaking at the Women in Cable Telecommunications. It was a national conference, And I found out that Meghan Markle had spoken there maybe 2 years before she got married. I didn't know it. I was just doing some research. So I wrote, I never thought I would have something in common with Meghan Markle. And so I wrote about what I was talking about, which was personal branding. And then I used a picture of Meghan Markle. All right. And this was 2 years ago. To this day, I'm still shocked. That post got 25,000 views on LinkedIn. So again, I use the word strategic a lot. You have to make sure of what you're saying. You have to use the hashtags. You have to use the @symbols. And the visuals are key. I didn't use a picture of myself. I didn't use a picture of the logo for the event. I used a picture of Meghan Markle. And I really think that pulled people in addition to the other pulls that I did. And again, I was shocked at the 25,000. So whenever you're writing, always think about how you can pull people in, because very quickly, when you post, for example, on Twitter, the life of a tweet is 7 minutes. So once you tweet, it goes out into vapor. So if you wanted to hang in the ether, you have to use the hashtags and the @symbols. With Facebook, the life of a Facebook post is 2 hours. So you have to make sure that you pull people in. You don't do back-to-back Facebook posts like one at 9, one at 9:30. Do one at 9 and the other one at 1 o'clock. LinkedIn, I don't know how long it is, but I make a point, and it's said that you have to post in LinkedIn at least 20 times a month, which is just once a day. So when people hear these numbers, Twitter, you should post 7 to 8 times a day, LinkedIn 20 times a month, Facebook about 3 to 5 times a week. They get overwhelmed. Pick a platform, know what your objective is, know what to write that will pull people in, use visuals, and also start using videos, because that really is the next wave of attention getters.
Yeah, I think one big thing that I've heard you kind of bring up or touch on multiple times now is just it's taking action, right? It's like being visible, not being shy to talk about what you're doing or the work and the results that you're creating. And the more that you are visible, the more opportunities that are, being really, you're creating opportunities by being visible. I think oftentimes people are overthinking, or they're looking at everything you're talking about going like that's a lot of work, yet they're still hungry for more business. So you got to put in the work, right? Do the right things, get in front of the right people. And yeah, clearly you've done a very, wonderful job of that in your business, Jennefer. I want to thank you for coming on here today, Jennefer, but also I want to make sure that people can learn more about you and your work, your book as well. So can you let us know where's the best place for people to go?
Thank you so much. You can find me on LinkedIn. And my name is spelled a little funny. The first name is Jennefer, and the last name is Witter, Witter. And on Twitter, you can find me as Jennefer, TBG, short for the Borland Group. And you can always email me and just, put in it, Michael's podcast in the subject line. And my email address is jwitter@theborland, BORELAND group.com. And I'd be more than happy to talk to you. We can set up like a 10-minute talk.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, Jennefer. Great to have you on.
It's my pleasure. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Consulting Success Podcast. For more episodes and to subscribe, rate, and leave a review, head on over to iTunes. And if you'd like to develop consistent lead flow and a highly profitable consulting business, learn more about our coaching programs at consultingsuccess.com.